Hey everybody, Mike Henson here for ALS News Now and No More Excuses. Today I'm extremely excited to bring you what I think has been one of my most requested and anticipated interviews in a long, long time. People want proof that NurOwn is helping people with ALS. If you want to hear about a story of a man who's getting maybe not better, but has had no progression of his ALS. Well, he did get better. You'll hear about his breathing's better. So if you want to hear this story, stick with us today because today is going to be one you don't want to miss. And it starts right now. Today is a good one. I first met this gentleman face to face back in June. He came to Washington, D.C. and flew all the way from Costa Rica. He wanted me to make it clear he is a dual resident. He's just very lucky to live where he does down there in what I think looks like paradise. So I want to introduce everybody now. Bring in Roberto here. Roberto, how you doing, buddy? This is Roberto Muggli. How you doing, Roberto?
Pretty good. Nice to see you, Mike.
You too. Haven't seen you face to face since June when we did the protest in DC. And man, it was awesome. Give everybody the quick intro into how you were diagnosed with ALS and what you did immediately and how you ended up getting to the NurOwn trial, how you found it and how you got enrolled in the trial.
So I was diagnosed in Costa Rica here. And I did go for a second opinion at the Mayo Clinic. So I was diagnosed September of 2017 in Costa Rica. And I did go to Mayo in May of 2018. The way I got into this trial was I have a friend here in Costa Rica that actually pushed me into signing up for this trial. And while I was going through the diagnosis down here in September, he sent me the information on NurOwn and said, "This is the thing that you should do. If you're going to do any trial, this is the one." And the same thing at Mayo. When I was diagnosed there, they tested me again, did my EMG again there, and said, yes, it's definitely ALS. I had asked the neurologist there, and he says, same thing. NurOwn is the trial you should be in.
And you had a definite diagnosis of ALS, right? I always start by making sure that you were definite, not probable, that you definitely
yes, I had definite. They said definite in Costa Rica. And that's when I went to Mayo for the second opinion for definite there. So
if you don't mind, just tell us a little bit about your progression. What were your symptoms? How did you know you had ALS?
Yeah, my first moment of just going, hey, what the heck's going on, was I was at the shooting range with one of my friends, and I was trying to put bullets push them down into my magazine, and I couldn't do it. I mean, I got 2 in there, and there's nine in the magazine, and I couldn't get beyond 2. And I looked at him and said, I don't know what's going on. I don't know if I pulled something in my arm or what I did. And that was the first symptoms of my ALS.
Fingers.
Yeah, it started into my right hand, and quickly I lost a lot of muscle tone in my right arm.
How about your legs or anything like that? Had you had trouble walking?
No, my legs have not been affected. Going up into when I first started the trial, I was losing more and more of my right, my arm muscles were atrophied.
How much do you think percentage-wise would you estimate maybe atrophy-wise and strength-wise?
Oh, I have so little. I have so little strength in my hand, and that has been since since May of 2018.
So you find out about NurOwn. you go for the screening visit, you're accepted, you meet all the criteria there. And I guess then tell us a little bit about your trips up there, because I think what people kind of forget to understand is that if you're lucky and you live in a place like Boston or in the Northeast, the trips aren't too bad. For some of us, it's a long commute. And, that's one of the downsides, is that some of us will make 14 trips to Boston and get placebo, injected into our body. And that's pretty difficult. Did that play into your decision to consider the trial versus going to like China or other places to get treatment? Or did you just always immediately say, no, I want to go get this NurOwn and I'm, forget all the other stem cell options?
I thought it was a pretty good odds, 50-50 to
Sure.
get in. And I said, if I get the placebo, that's helping science. If I get the real stuff, that's the bonus.
I guess when you think about it, 50-50 is still better than the casino, right? I mean, technically casinos are less than that. So pretty good chance.
So I thought it was pretty good odds. And so we made the decision that we were going to fly back to Minnesota. And I grew up in Minnesota and have family that live there. And I actually have a brother that lives a block and a half from St. Mary's, where the stem cells were injected. So I was lucky that, yes, I spent a lot of money on travel back and forth, but I had family right there. So
you make your first trip up there, and you go through the first four appointments, and then the doctor walks in and says you're either in or you're out. Tell us just briefly about that fourth appointment. How did that go for you?
Yeah, I was kind of expecting him to say yes, because I could feel myself gradually getting worse.
Yeah.
And so I did qualify for the progression has to go down so many points. I forget. Do you know off the top of your head how many points it has to go down?
No, I don't believe there's a stated figure. They're looking for people who are not super fast and who are not super slow. So they're kind of looking for people who kind of meet an average criteria. I don't know that they've published those exact progression requirements. Of course, we know you have to be, younger than 60, and you have to have a breathing score of above 65%. And which brings me to my next question. I guess you didn't ever have any breathing effect or affect, correct? Your breathing had remained intact completely. Is that right?
My breathing was okay. I was sleeping with 3 pillows when I started the trial, just to get. And after I did get the injections, I'm back to sleeping with 1 pillow.
Okay, so you were actually at the point then possibly where you were starting to feel a little bit of that breathing involvement. Kind of like where I'm at. I can feel like sometimes it's not bad. It's just right. It's not the same. You know what I mean? It's safe to say you were at that point. Okay.
I was at the point where my breathing just did not feel the same, and I did have to elevate myself to sleep.
So you go for the bone marrow aspiration. That's our first step. Tell us just briefly about how that process went. You've mentioned it was pretty easy. Tell us about the aspiration.
Yeah, that was probably the easiest part of this whole trial for me. It was a little uncomfortable, but not painful at all.
After your extraction, it's about 5 or 6 weeks, right? While they do the magic on the cells. And then you go back for number 6. Is that correct? After about a month or something like that? Is that right?
Yes. It's approximately a month.
So you go back for visit number 5 now, or 6, excuse me. And tell us a little bit about that procedure.
Okay, so the first injection, you're always nervous about it, and it did go pretty well.
Okay.
And it's not that painful. It's uncomfortable when they do inject you, but it's not painful.
Okay.
And so after the injection, in the middle of the night, I did have a slight fever and a headache.
Okay.
So that was after the first injection.
Okay. So tell us a little bit about what you noticed after the first injection, symptomatically. Did you see any
Okay, so
improvement after the first injection?
yes, after the first injection, it was about 2.5 to 3 weeks later, where my arm currently is, it's I don't know how you describe it, but it's kind of heavy. After the first injection, um, I could lift my arm much better than I had for months.
Wow.
Um, it was pretty quick. I mean, like I said, 2.5 to 3 weeks after the injection, I noticed that, and I had commented to my wife. I'm like, "Geez, something's going on," because I couldn't lift my arm like I could before.
So you could lift it better. That's amazing. After that quick a
Yes,
time, 3 weeks, let's say. Would you say 3 weeks is about right?
yeah, it was about 3 weeks. Yeah.
Great. That's amazing. How about the fasciculations? Did they stop or slow down, or what would you say about the the twitching and all the electrical
Yes,
storm?
they. I say it was about 60%. Um, my wife says it was probably 75% less.
Wow.
So,
Wow. That's
but
incredible.
it was significant the how less my body had fasciculations,
That's
because
crazy.
I before the injection I had it kind of rolling through my body, and I would have some in my face,
Okay.
and so yeah, definitely that was a big change, was um, the amount of fasciculations. And I feel it did stop the progression of my ALS.
Okay. So, and we'll go back to that here in a minute. Let's talk about now. So you go back again. What, in 2 more weeks after that for an LP where they analyze your CSF? Is that correct? So you have to go back again, right?
Yeah, so I had, I believe, two between, yeah, so you have the first injection, then you have
Okay.
two LPs.
Okay. Did you ever have left arm involvement? Had it progressed to the left side of your body yet?
No,
Okay.
it did not get to that point.
Okay.
So
Were you having
yeah,
fasciculations
definitely.
there? Anything? Any
Oh,
fasciculations?
yeah, the fasciculations I had, everywhere in my body. I had
Wow.
fasciculations. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Well, that's an
And
important point because that's what we're finding is, that's a consistent symptom for the people that I've interviewed. They seem to have widespread fasciculations, especially guys like Warren Osborne. Now, Warren wasn't in the NurOwn trial, of course, but he has widespread uh, fasciculations, as I do. So I just, thank you for, mentioning that. Okay, so Roberto, you've completed the trial now. Tell me about, let's just put some real numbers to this in terms of, before you may have had some fasciculations again just recently. Let's take this 7 or 8 months time period between February and September. How much do you believe that it stopped your progression? Are we talking you feel like you had no progression, or are we thinking, put a number on that at the best point there?
no, I had zero progression
Zero.
in my right arm. Yeah, yeah, and that is the only part of my body that's been affected.
Okay. All right. Um, as far as overall fasciculations at your best point, what do you think? Where do you think you were there in terms of reduction?
60 to 70% less.
Okay. Okay. And as far as, let's talk a little bit about, you know, this therapy as it goes forward from here. If let me ask you this first. Are you Do you believe in your heart that you got the real therapy, or do you think there's any chance that maybe you could just be getting a placebo gain?
No, I truly believe I got the real stuff.
Okay. We would love to believe that our FDA here would approve these things quickly for us, and you telling about your own success has really helped establish that there are more people out there. Do you believe that there are others out there, without asking you any questions about other people? This is a tricky question, but do you believe there are others out there who saw a benefit as well that maybe just don't want to come forward? And what do you think about the reasons for maybe not wanting to do that?
Yeah, and a lot of people are very private. I mean, this is a very it's a tough disease. A lot of people just don't want the public to know what is going on.
Agreed.
And there's no doubt that there's other people that are seeing either progression that stopped or improving.
No doubt in your mind. And I agree with you, by the way, but I just want to make sure, make it clear that you believe that this stuff is no joke. It's not made up. It has helped save your life. Do you believe it saved your life?
But it's definitely something that it's not the cure,
right?
But it
Agreed.
is, as one of my friends put it, a bridge to a bridge.
Absolutely. That's a perfect way to put it.
This will help stop slow progression. And at some point, science will come up with something more. But this is the best that we have right now.
One of the biggest complaints I get is that our national fundraiser has not funded this therapy, and it won't even talk about it. In fact, on Nightline the other night, Dr. Neil Thacker actually said, we know that people are getting better on NurOwn. Maybe he means people like you, but that we don't know how long they stay better. Is that a valid argument, or do you believe that ALSA has made a mistake here and should be funding or helping this company with this drug? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think this is the best therapy out there right now. And I think any group that is doing anything for ALS should be looking at this and saying, let's help. Let's do something to see if there's enough data out there, I believe, right now, with the number of people that have gone through the trial, to take a step back, look at that data, and see if they can accelerate this as a treatment.
Yeah, I think the big thing there is look at the data. The company cannot there is no pathway right now to ask for an analysis without risking the entire trial, as you know.
And that is the problem.
That is our problem. Yes, it is. Without going into conspiracy theories, do you have any theory as to why people are not standing up and saying, who have a voice in ALS, except for us, frankly, are saying, get behind this. It helps people. Do you have any theory about why that's not happening?
I do, but I don't want to talk about it.
Okay. All right.
Every group should be behind this.
Okay. Fair enough.
I haven't seen anything else that has shown progression. I mean, there's a couple others out there, but the ones that are in phase 3, this is the most promising.
Do you have any doubt at all whatsoever that it helped you and that it truly stopped, your ALS from getting worse? Any doubt at all?
I have no doubts at all. Let me tell you a little story about the neurologist that diagnosed me down here.
Please.
I went and saw him about 2 weeks ago, and I hadn't seen him. I told him I didn't tell him I was going to be in the trial in the U.S. I said, I just won't see you for a year. And it was actually a year and a half. December was the last time. December 2017 was the last time I saw him. And so I went to see him 2 weeks ago, and he asked me what I was doing, because he goes, you're not like the other patients. There's something going on. And then I did tell him that I wasn't in this trial. And
Incredible.
And he was very surprised that I was my progression didn't go beyond what he had seen my progression at.
And that's just incredible. It's so hopeful for people. Being in this trial is difficult at times. It is. It's hard. But I think the thing that we need to establish is, does it work? Uh, Even if it doesn't work for everybody, and there's a chance, Roberto, it may not. I mean, I'm just going to say straight up, I believe there are people that it's not working for. But even if it's 50% of people, you know, just like perhaps Dr. Appel's T-Reg procedure, it may not work for everybody. But even if it's 50% of people, it's about creating a multidisciplinary approach to attack this disease. Like you said, it's about creating bridges to a bridge. You know, it's about options, and it's about quit wasting so much time on these magic cures that are probably, frankly, likely not to come in anytime soon. I hate to say that, folks. I'm not trying to crush anybody's hopes, but you know, if we have therapies, Roberto, we don't need a flat out cure. There are very few diseases today that are actually cured, chronic ones. Most of them are
Yeah,
treated.
no,
Cancer.
I think with NurOwn, it's going to be something that we're going to need injections every 3 to 4 months, maybe even it. Yeah, I would say for me, from what I've seen, I would need an injection every 3 months.
I could not agree more. And to those people out there who say, you know, this is not a cure. Again, nobody's saying that this is a cure. ALS, there is no cure for ALS. There's no cure for HIV either. Yet people live fully productive lives with HIV every day. People with cancer, Roberto, you know, they're pulling people with stage 4 cancer out of the grave every day right now. And for ALS, it's
I would
totally opposite.
I would be
Go ahead.
extremely happy if my progression stayed where it's at right now.
You could live with it. In
Um,
other words, you could
I
live with
could
it.
live with it with no problem. I've adjusted. I do
Hmm.
everything left-handed now, um, so it doesn't progress anymore. I am very happy with that.
I totally agree. And you felt like you actually got a little breathing recovery. Let's just touch up on that as well. You went from 3 pillows down to 1 pillow. So obviously that means that you feel like it helped your breathing as well. Is that fair?
Yeah, it definitely did. Yeah.
Okay. So
So
a little bit of restoration. And it's interesting. We find that people like Matt Bellina had spectacular breathing recovery on NurOwn. And perhaps, I don't know this, but perhaps it has a more of an effect on Bulbar than it does even on Limb. And that could be for a variety of reasons, or it could just be, just my speculation. But you're not the only one that's reported a breathing recovery on this drug or on this therapy. So you feel like that's a real effect of what you got was your breathing recovery.
yeah, no, I definitely, my breathing was never bad, but it
Right.
it just at night laying down, it just was not what it used to be, and so
Well,
definitely,
that's a sign of progression. You know, again, not bad. It wasn't bad, but it does mean that it had started to affect possibly your diaphragm or your chest muscles. You know, where your breathing muscles. So that indicates to me that it had kind of started to make that jump maybe over to the bulbar side. Did you have any swallowing issues? I know you had face fasciculations. Did it ever affect your swallowing?
no, just the face
Okay.
fasciculation.
I have to say that that it's very exciting for me hearing your results, and I believe that you doing this will give hope to other ALS patients. And let's hope that this drug is approved sooner than later. Do you have anything you want to say to all the ALS population out there? It's your stage. I'll give you the platform for a minute before we sign off, and that'll be it.
I don't want to give false hope, but there is definitely something with NurOwn. Um, I've seen it, and just the fact that in the last 7 months I haven't progressed is huge. Um, and so there is hope out there. I just hope that it will be approved for the current patients with ALS.
I do too, buddy. I do too. We need to get this drug approved. We need to give everybody that has ALS a chance to live. If we don't draw the line somewhere and say now is the time, I don't know how many more lines in the sand we can keep drawing for every therapy. You know, for Tregs, for CUATSM. This is not the only exciting therapy for ALS. As you know, Roberto, you came to the event. You saw Sharon Bradley talk about how Tregs helped Larry for a whole year as well. So,
Yes.
what would you say about the opportunity to be on both? What would have happened if you would have been on Tregs and NurOwn? Of course, we don't know, but and you didn't progress anyway on NurOwn, I guess. But for those tough people, the tough progressors, the people that may need more than NurOwn, what if we had a second hammer in the drawer? You know what I mean? What if we had
and that's what it's going to be. It's not going to be just one drug. It's going to be a combination, just like AIDS for I believe for the ALS patients.
Cures are great, but maybe therapies are good enough until we get to that point. I mean, that to me seems like such a simple concept. You don't call the arson investigator while your house is still on fire. You put the fire out first, and then call him after you got the thing put out. And you don't do that. And yet in ALS, that's exactly what we've done, Roberto, is we've waited and wasted so much time on finding out the why, as opposed to just saying, let's shut it down for a while and then we'll come back to that. You think that's a fair assessment, and then we'll leave it there.
It is, yeah. It's the why will come
Agreed.
at some point.
At some point.
But we're not at that point yet. So why not use what is out there that has shown in various patients to stop or improve progression of ALS?
Well, I could not agree more. And you're a spectacular guy. I love your house. I'm super jealous. I want to come to Costa Rica now. And
you're welcome here.
Don't watch out. Don't say that. I might just show up. So I want to say thank you, and from everybody out there with ALS who has hope that one day, we're going to get to the point that you are. You are where all of us want to be right now. We want that shot. We want that chance. And I want to say thank you. The trial is not easy, complete. It's a lot of trips, and you took a risk on doing all of that for maybe nothing, and that's part of the problem with this. And so what I'm going to do now is basically I'm going to click hang up on you. So when you see the screen go dark, don't hate me because it pretty much just cuts you off. So I'm going to do that now. And again, I want to say thank you very much, buddy, for what you did today. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you, Mike.
Okay. All right. Okay, folks, there it is. I told you, it cuts him off, doesn't it? Right there. Just boom. Okay, so here's what we know about this therapy. Is that for some people, it works. Okay, I can't do anything else at this point to prove this to the naysayers out there. Okay, this therapy doesn't work for everybody. We don't believe that it will work for everybody, but we believe that for enough people who try it, that it will work, that it will have an effect. You just saw yet another person there testify exactly what we've known for some time, is that in some people, this therapy, this stem cell therapy, is capable of breaking the inflammatory cycle and shutting the disease down for a period of time, at least. Now, it has to be repeated. We've said that. Dr. Thacker, does not matter how long this drug works for. Okay? The only thing that matters is that it works for enough of a period of time where it can easily be given to people. Okay? And the more we do it, cheaper it's going to get. So I'm saying to also right now, you guys were wrong on this therapy. You were wrong. And to all of you sitting out there with ALS right now, it's time to admit that. But it can be fixed. Okay? It can be fixed. I understand why people don't just automatically believe things that they're told. However, this drug has now proven itself over and over and over and over again, even with people in the phase 2 trial like Dawn, Bobby Forster, who saw improvements on that first injection. What else do we have to do to prove to people that this therapy, and some people, we don't know that percentage yet, but frankly, it doesn't matter, is capable of producing the result you just saw? to those who do not have ALS, who are involved in the ALS world, like researchers and ALSA, we want you to know that your strategy is wrong. Okay. This endless strategy of finding a hole in the boat before you get everybody off the sinking ship is wrong. And it's got to stop. And we will continue to fight this fight until you understand that. Okay. These therapies, like T-Regs, like CUATSM, there are others. There are others. They're not cures. And that's okay. We must officially change the narrative now from we need a cure to we need NurOwn. We need therapies. We do not need a cure for ALS right now. Be nice to have it one day, but also be nice to have a cure for cancer. But a whole bunch of people are living very, very, very nice lives without it. We can do the same in ALS if we have the courage to stand up and to say, and including those people on the internet and on Facebook who are too worried about being called rude or aggressive or angry, or calling out the truth, which is that to date, not a single dime of money from the ice bucket or from any donation from ALSA that's gone to fund this therapy. And I find that extremely worrisome because if it's happening here, it's happening in other places. Dr. Appel, the man who stopped the progression of ALS completely, in Larry Bradley. Now, again, there was only 3 people in that trial. The other 2 did not do so well, but we don't know why. But we do know that 30% of them had no progression for a year. Okay? Doctors like Dr. Appel do not make statements like that for nothing.
At the very least, we had hoped that maybe we would slow the process. We actually stopped the progression of ALS in a way that had not been done before.
Okay. If it's 30%, we'll take it. We'll take it. And until these people understand this, I believe it's time that we stop contributing to the negligence, if you will. I believe it's time that we start to pick better places to give our money, to give money to people who have therapies that will shut this disease down so that every one of us, until the cure can be found, until every one of us has a chance to live a longer life while that happens. And what you just heard today, as far as I'm concerned, I don't need to see anything else. Okay. I mean, I've been here. Roberto is the 5th, 6th, 7th person. I don't know. And there are more. There are more. I cannot use their names. Okay. Roberto is not the only one. It's taken me months to get him to do this. Okay. And like you heard him say, Roberto is a very credible, smart man. Most people with this disease just don't want to talk about it. For every 5 we have that I bring you, there are undoubtedly factor more than that who want to stay silent. So I'm going to sign off today, and I want each of you to know that if you're not supporting this therapy, there's nothing more we can do for you. No more excuses. We can't force you to do what you don't want to do. But I will say this to the doubters, you're wrong, just wrong. And maybe I'll bring some more people on when they're ready if you still don't believe it. But we're making a big mistake right now in ALS. People are dying right now for no damn reason. No reason. And while it's great that the FDA got some new trial guidelines done, and it should have been done a long time ago, the FDA has the opportunity to do something here epic and save American lives right now. We are dying right now because of bureaucracy. Okay? What I say right now to the President of the United States is create a pathway. Issue an executive order like you did for kidney care that would approve or allow NurOwn or Brainstorm to submit this drug at no risk for immediate analysis so that we can find out just how many Robertos there are. Because I'll bet you it's a hell of a lot more than ALSA would like to admit. So I'm going to sign off now. And I want to thank you all. And thank you so much for all the support that you guys give us. We're all on the same team. I just wish it felt that way a little bit more at times. We have a lot more coming. We have a lot more coming. So you guys come to the address here at the bottom of the screen. This is my Twitter feed. This is at No More Excuses. That's our Facebook site. If you like what you see today and you support what we do, please come join our fight. Thank you so much.